I hate the default VS Code file explorer. It is not really designed to be used using the keyboard. So I created Voil, which, similar to the Oil plugin for Vim, allows you to manage files as a text buffer, which means that all of the text editing skills and muscle memory that you have already developed in VS Code immediately applies to file editing. I can open Voil by running open panel at current directory command. You can see I have it bound to the minus key. I can do that because I use the Vim extension. If you don't use Vim mode, you can bind it to some other key binding like Ctrl-Shift-E, which is normally used to open the default Explorer panel. When I open Voil, you can see the directory listing of the current directory. The top line of the document shows the current path, and the keyboard cursor is on the file we were just editing. This is a plain text file, and you can navigate it exactly as you would any other file. For example, I can navigate to another file and press enter to open it. Again, I am using Vim mode, so I could bind the enter key to the command that opens the file. Let me toggle off the Vim mode just to show you. And now pressing enter simply inserts a new line, but I can use another key binding, for example Ctrl enter, to perform the same command. Let's switch the Vim mode back on before I lose my mind. But the point is, although I am using the Vim mode, everything you see in this video can be done in normal VS Code as well. I have example configuration for both normal VS Code and the Vim extension in the Voil repository. We can open directories and go back either by pressing the enter on the double dot directory or just running the open Voil key binding again. Now let's say I want to create a new file. Like I said, this is just a text file, so I can edit it and add my new file. As soon as I save the document, the new file is created. I can remove the file by deleting the line and saving. Since file deletion is a destructive action, Voil asks us to confirm the deletion. Let me prove to you that I am actually creating and deleting files. One useful trick is that if I press enter on the top line, which is displaying the current directory, it opens the built-in VS Code terminal rooted at this directory. Here I run watch-n 0.1 ls. This command runs ls every 0.1 seconds, so we can see the files being created and deleted in real time. Now, if I go back and add a new file, you can see that the file is created as soon as I save. Similarly, it is deleted as soon as I confirm the deletion. It works the other way too. If I switch to the terminal and create a new file, you can see that the Voil window immediately updates to show the new changes. I can rename files by simply editing their name, copy them by copy and pasting their line, or move them by deleting them from one directory and pasting them back in another directory. In the Voil document, you can see all the directories end with a slash. So if I want to create a new directory, I just end the name with the slash and it will be created as a directory. I can even create nested directories or even files within those nested directories in one command. Also, if I want to just see the HTML files in the current directory, I can filter the files by adding a glob pattern to the first line, like so. All of these features work across multiple Voil windows too, even across different VS Code windows. For example, here I have a local VS Code window and a remote SSH VS Code window. I can copy files from the local window and paste them in the remote window. Unfortunately, the other way around does not work. The reason is that the local window does not have the permission to access the remote files in the other window. If anyone knows a way to work around this, please let me know in the comments, though I doubt it, because even the default VS Code Explorer is not able to do this, as far as I know at least. You might be curious, how can Voil, for example, distinguish between a copied file and a new file? For example, if I copy this file and save, you can see the file contents of the old file. But if I delete it and create a new file with the same name, it is empty. How can this be? Well, the truth is there is a hidden identifier before every line which allows Voil to distinguish between files. You can show this identifier by adding voil.hide identifier false to your settings. This is what the Voil document truly looks like, but it is normally hidden from you. Knowing this is important because, for example, if you want to copy a file, you need to do it in such a way that the identifier is also copied. For example, if you use the mouse cursor to select the name of the file, This is what you are actually selecting, and it will not work. Instead, you need to use commands that operate on entire lines, for example using Ctrl L in normal VS Code if you are not using Vim mode. Let's say I want to create a zip file from all the txt and markdown files in this directory. First, I can filter them by adding a glob pattern to the first line, like so. Now, I can select all of the files and run the command run shell command on selected items. In the input text box, I can write something like this: zipped.zip, which is the name of the output zip file, followed by $, open bracket, file names, close brackets, which is a variable that expands to all the selected files separated by a space. If I wanted to run the command for each file individually, I could use $file name instead of $file names, which would then run the command for each file, replacing $file name with the name of the file. Now, let's say zipping files is a common task for me, and I don't want to type the command every time. I can define the voil.custom_shell_commands setting variable, which is a list of objects with the following properties. Name is a human readable name of the command. CMD is the command to run, and the ID is a unique identifier for the command, which can be used to bind a key binding to it. The $imp compressed name is a variable that prompts the user for an input and expands to the input provided by the user. In this case, it is the name of the zip file. So if I save the settings and go back to Voil, I can now select the files and run command run predefined shell command and select the zip command. It first prompts me for the name of the zip file and then runs the command with the selected files. If the command is a super common task, I can even bind a key binding to it. For example, I can add the following to my key bindings. The ID is the same as the one we defined in the settings, and the when condition is used to enable this key binding only when we are in a Voil document. In my own personal config, I have the following, which allows me to zip and unzip files by pressing the capital Z and capital X keys respectively.